Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're the place you come to plunge into, well, really fascinating topics and pull out those crucial nuggets of knowledge that help you truly understand the world. Today, we're stepping into the really vibrant and often quite profound world of folklore. Where these ancient narratives, there's so much more than just stories. They're like these intricate maps, really, to cultural understanding, societal values, the very essence of the human condition. And what a map we have for you today. We're embarking on a deep dive into a really specific traditional narrative. It's a captivating folktale exploring incredible themes of transformation, justice, and the powerful, almost mystical connection between humans and the natural world. Our sources for this deep dive are, well, they're pretty unique and give us a rare vantage point. We've got a traditional Qinghui glossary, which gives us some incredibly precise cultural context, and we're pairing that with this captivating narrative called Maza, the boy who became a hornbill. That one's from the folk narratives of the Tangkhul Nagas. So our mission, as always, is to, extract the most important insights from this unique story. We want to reveal surprising facts, unearth deeper meanings, and connect them to broader understandings that might just resonate profoundly with your own experiences of change, resilience, maybe even belonging.
And what's fascinating here is precisely that intersection you mentioned. Narratives like Maza, they aren't just entertaining tales passed down, they are actually really rich cultural documents. They offer these direct, sort of unfiltered windows into belief systems, societal values, the very fabric of a community's worldview, often preserved for generations. And when you manage to pair a mythological tale, a story born from collective imagination and history, with the explicit definitions from a specific cultural glossary, well, like the Qing Shui terms here, you get this incredibly rare and potent combination. It lets us not just hear this story on the surface, but really understand the words and concepts that shape its deepest meaning for the people who tell it. It gives us a much deeper appreciation for how language itself carries the weight of cultural significance, especially when we're talking about something as intriguing and symbolically charged as the hornbill and specific ceremonial attire within the Tangkhul Naga tradition.
Absolutely. It's like having a secret decoder ring for the culture, isn't it?
Yeah, moves beyond just like simple translation to real cultural comprehension. So let's start at the very beginning of Maza's story, which, as often happens in these kinds of foundational narratives, sets the stage with a pretty significant dose of misfortune, the crucible, really, that the protagonist has to emerge from. So picture this. A young boy, Maza, he's born into what seems like a perfectly happy, normal family. Idyllic almost. A period of simple contentment, a childhood that, for a little while anyway, seems untouched by hardship.
Right. But then, almost abruptly, the narrative takes that sharp, sorrowful turn. His mother tragically falls sick and dies while Mazas is still very young, like barely out of infancy. And this leaves him and his father suddenly alone. Adrift, really, in a household that's lost its emotional anchor, its central foundation of care.
Yeah, you can imagine the father's situation. He's facing this immense dual challenge, not just the demanding farm work they need to survive, but also all the household chores for a very young kid. He's in an utterly desperate situation.
Exactly. Overwhelmed by the hardship, the relentless burden, and with seemingly no other alternative, he makes that fateful decision. The one that often signals a new, difficult chapter in these traditional stories. He chooses to remarry.
The stepmother arrives on the scene.
Precisely. And stepping back just a moment, this setup immediately puts Maza's story within that common, almost universal folkloric trope. The introduction of the wicked stepmother. This device where an absent or maybe ineffective parent paves the way for a malevolent stepfigure. It appears everywhere, right? Across countless cultures, fairy tales, Cinderella, Snow White, Hansel and Gretel.
Right, it's instantly recognizable.
It taps into really primal fears, I think. Abandonment, injustice. Resonates deeply with that feeling of vulnerability. But what this particular narrative does is detail the stepmother's cruelty with a visceral, almost shocking specificity that really, really sticks with you. I mean, imagine a child, still young, dependent, being denied proper food. The story tells us she gave him rice mixed with rat dung.
That's horrifying.
It is. And it isn't just a metaphor for bad food or general neglect. It's a direct, horrifying image. It's designed to convey extreme contempt, profound disrespect, deliberate cruelty. The impact on the listener is immediate. It's not just lack of nourishment.
Yeah.
It's deliberate defilement, an assault on his dignity. It really emphasizes the depth, the depravity of his suffering. That level of vivid, almost nauseating detail elevates her malice beyond just indifference. It's active, malicious intent.
And the deprivation gets even more specific too, doesn't it? Really underlining that mockery, the systematic humiliation.
Exactly,
Yeah.
precisely. Instead of rice beer, which, in many traditional contexts isn't just alcohol, it's a culturally significant staple,
Yeah.
a source of energy, sustenance, part of rituals.
Right, it means something more.
It does. But his gourd was filled with cooked rice water. So this isn't just withholding a treat, it's a deliberate act of profound humiliation, marginalization. Think about it in a modern sense, replacing a celebratory drink with something utterly bland, worthless nutritionally or socially. It's not just deprivation, it's an insult. It highlights his ostracized status and her sort of cruel delight in his suffering. It speaks volumes about that deep social fabric woven around food and drink and how denial or perverse substitution can be tools of oppression.
Wow, so meager food, insulting drinks, and then the labor too.
Oh, yes. Beyond these provisions, Maza was subjected to forced hard labor every single day, relentlessly. So you have this combination, malnutrition, mockery, ceaseless toil. It paints this incredibly stark picture of relentless misery, profound hardship, both physical and psychological. And what makes it even more heartbreaking and really heightens Maza's isolation is the father's unawareness. The narrative explicitly says he was unaware of all the ill treatment received by his beloved son.
So the father didn't know or couldn't see.
It seems not. That absence of paternal intervention is crucial. It doesn't necessarily imply malice from the father, maybe just overwhelming burdens or tragic naivety, perhaps. But it certainly ramps up Maza's sense of isolation and helplessness. It cuts off any potential rescue from within his own home. It basically forces him to look elsewhere, beyond his immediate situation, for salvation. And then the story emphasizes how long this went on. After a few years, Maza was grown into manhood, but his life continued to be miserable. So this isn't a short period, a passing phase. It implies years of this agonizing existence, which makes his eventual decision to transform and escape not just some rash impulse, It makes a deeply considered, impactful, desperate choice born from prolonged, unbearable suffering and just this innate will to survive.
That long duration really makes his breaking point feel earned, like an act of sheer necessity. So after years of this systematic, soul-crushing cruelty, the turning point finally arrives. And the narrative sets the scene so well, you can feel Maza's internal state. One sunny day, while he sat under a shade thinking about how to escape from his stepmother. See, he's not just passively suffering anymore, he's actively searching, his mind churning for a way out. And it's right then, at this moment of struggle and longing for freedom, that this magnificent sight appears. A flock of Asakha came flying by, looking magnificent.
You can almost feel the impact that must have had on a boy who knew nothing but misery, confinement. It wasn't just a bird, it was a vision of majesty, of movement, a powerful symbol of liberation from his earthly bonds. For Maza, it must have been like an epiphany, a glimpse into a world of soaring possibility.
So Asakha, this is where the glossary comes in handy again, right?
Exactly. What's fascinating here, and where our glossary becomes so incredibly crucial, is what Asakha refers to. The Au glossary, traditional Qingzhui terms, explicitly defines Asakha as hornbill. And this isn't just any bird, it's the hornbill, a creature revered in many cultures, known for its distinctive look, that amazing casque, its powerful flight.
Right, they're quite striking birds.
They are. And the narrative doesn't just name it. It immediately gives these vivid sensory details that amplify its symbolic presence, its power. It is said that the wing beats of the Asakha are heavy, and the sound produced by them in flight can be heard from a long distance. Imagine that. Not just seeing them, but hearing them coming. That deep, resonant, almost percussive sound, like a drum beat across the landscape.
Wow, yeah. Powerful imagery.
It conveys immense power, unbridled freedom, an undeniable, almost elemental presence. So for Maza, in his state of confinement and despair, the hornbill, with its heavy, audible wing beats, it becomes more than just a creature. It becomes this potent, almost divine symbol. Is it freedom from torment, newfound power, agency, radical transformation? It could be all of those, really. A confluence of desires and meaning.
And that's the moment he decides.
It seems so. It's this profound encounter that solidifies his definitive decision. A choice marking an irrevocable turning point. He decided not to return to his father's home despite his affection for him. This isn't a whimsical choice, not a childish tantrum. It's a complete break from his old life. It's a testament to his strong will to survive, to thrive, even if it means leaving behind the only family he knows, embracing this entirely new, unknown existence.
Right.
It suggests that sometimes, when faced with truly unbearable circumstances, the only way forward is to completely shed your past. To undergo a radical reinvention so complete it physically transforms you. This echoes through so many narratives, doesn't it? personal transformations, myths. It's a fundamental human yearning for self-actualization, even if it means abandoning everything familiar.
Yeah. And what does that tell us, you think, about the allure of nature, the wild as an escape or inspiration when things get unbearable?
Well, it reveals nature not just as a refuge, I think, but as a
Mm.
catalyst for profound, life-altering change.
That's such a powerful point. Nature offering not just solace, but a genuine path to rebirth. And the way Maja's transformation happens is, well, it's incredibly unique. It's not like a sudden magical poof, you know? It seems far more deliberate, more grounded in a way in human ingenuity and connection. He doesn't just wish himself into a hornbill. He performs this very specific, almost ritualistic action. He calls his two lovers, which is an interesting detail itself, and asks them for their afikaza puishakang. This crucial, specific detail hints at, well, particular cultural significance, a deep personal connection. Then the process itself, it's described almost like craftsmanship, meticulously assembling his new form. A while later, he had fixed the feather and tail. After that, he put it on. It's like an active assemblage, physically donning his new identity. So different from instant transformation myths. It blends the human and the ethereal.
And this raises that important question. Why this specific item, the Afikazapui Shakang, for transformation? This is where the glossary really provides invaluable insight, peeling back those cultural layers. The glossary defines Afikazapui Shakang in quite intricate detail. Let me see. In the olden days, the well-to-do family of Asune woman wore 3 wraparound at a time. The innermost is known as Anger Angjungfi, then followed by the middle, which is known as Anukazupui, and the outermost is Afikazapui Shakang. These 3 wraparound is adorned in such a way that the innermost and middle wraparound remain a little below of the outermost warparound, showing the border and designs.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just any cloth. It's specific, layered, and from well-to-do families.
Exactly. The implications here are multi-layered, really rich. Firstly, yes, well-to-do families of Asune women. That immediately implies a connection to status, prosperity, beauty, perhaps even a certain aesthetic or social ideal within the culture. And the fact that it's the outermost of 3 intricately layered wraparounds, adorned to reveal border end designs, that speaks volumes about aesthetic value, craftsmanship, the complexity of traditional attire. It wasn't just clothing, it was an art form, a statement of identity, social standing, cultural pride.
So by asking for that garment, Maza is seeking more than just material.
It seems so. He's seeking something imbued with significance. Beauty, status, perhaps even a hint of the admiration and reverence he was so cruelly denied in his human life. It's almost like he's choosing to wear the very essence of cultural pride and high status into his new, liberated form, symbolically reversing his past degradation.
And the role of his two lovers in this, also fascinating. Why two?
It is intriguing. It could be interpreted in several ways. In some traditional societies, forms of polyamory or strategic partnerships weren't uncommon. Maybe it reflects that reality. Alternatively, it might signify a collective act of profound love and loyalty. Perhaps the combined emotional strength, the support of multiple devoted individuals was needed for such a radical change. Or maybe they represent different facets of his affection, both necessary for his transition. What's clear is their involvement is crucial. It emphasizes the power of human connection, specifically love and loyalty, in facilitating profound change.
And the way he actually makes the change. Fixing the feather and tail, putting it on.
Yes, that's incredibly telling, as you said. It's not a sudden metamorphosis. It's deliberate, almost ritualistic, donning an identity. It blends human ingenuity, deliberate action, with what feels like spiritual or natural power. He actively crafts his new form, using elements given by those who love him. It suggests transformation here is collaborative, a synergy between the self, supportive relationships, and maybe some guiding force. It implies agency, effort in achieving one's destiny.
But it wasn't all triumphant, was it? There was sadness, too.
Absolutely. Despite the incredible new freedom, the promise of this transformed existence, there's a deep emotional cost, a profound bittersweetness. The narrative says, warm tears welled up in his eyes as he felt the pang of separation in his mind. This isn't just a clean break. There's genuine sadness, loss for the human connections. He's leaving his lovers, maybe even his father, despite everything. It highlights the complex emotional reality of radical change. Even when necessary, it often comes with mourning for what's left behind. Yet even then, he makes that crucial promise, I will visit the village once a year.
Ah, so he maintains a connection.
Yes, it sets up a vital future event, a recurring link to his human past. It prevents the transformation from being a complete final severance. It maintains a tether, a bridge between his two worlds, suggesting that even in transformation, one's roots, one's loyalties can endure.
That emotional complexity really grounds it, makes it more than just an escape fantasy, adds that deeply human layer. So Maza spreads his magnificent new wings, flies up, joins the flock of Asakha, and starts his new life as a hornbill.
Oh.
And immediately his impact is huge, right? Almost legendary within this new avian community. The story says all the Asakha was captivated by Angza's charm and followed him. I noticed the name change here. He's now Angza, signifying his transformed status, maybe his new leadership role.
A new identity?
And his key attribute is clear. His magnificent feather won the love and admiration of female Asakha. And it's not just the birds. His magnetic presence continues. Even humans got attracted by Maza's beauty and called him Aharazha. So he has another name, too. He's not just a bird. He's like a celebrity, a figure of awe, transcending species boundaries.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this immediate, undeniable rise in Maza's or Angza's status and allure, well, it naturally leads to a classic narrative element, one that transcends species, the rise of jealousy among the other male Asakha.
Oh, of course, even among hornbills.
Exactly. It's a profoundly human emotion, and transposing it into the animal kingdom here emphasizes the story's ability to reflect universal human social dynamics, anxieties, competitions. Their concern is very clearly stated, that the female Asakha and the humans would not be attracted to them. It highlights those universal themes: competition for mates, for attention, for admiration, the anxieties around beauty or status.
So how do they deal with this incredibly beautiful newcomer?
Well, what's truly unique and adds such a rich layer here is their adaptive, almost strategic behavior in response. The narrative says, so when the Asakha flies in flocks, the male Asakha often arrange themselves in specific shapes or formations and cover Aharazha, frequently tossing him up towards the sky.
Wow, specific formations, covering him, tossing him up. What does that even mean?
It's vivid, isn't it? Imagine these magnificent birds, powerful wings, distinct casques, flying in this coordinated aerial ballet, shifting formations with deliberate intent. What does it suggest? Well, a few possibilities. Maybe it's protective, shielding their prized, most beautiful member from threats hunters, maybe, or the gaze of others. Or perhaps it's possessive, an attempt to monopolize him, keep his allure for themselves away from humans and female hornbills, reducing competition.
Or maybe asserting dominance.
That's another strong possibility, a more complex assertion of dominance and control within the flock. Managing the social disruption caused by his charm, by literally tossing him up, they might be asserting their collective power, showing control over even the most admired member. Or maybe even using his charisma as a collective display, presenting him as a testament to their flock's unique qualities. It reflects this fascinating balance of beauty and power within a social group, where even in a transformed state or in the animal world of folklore, those human-like emotions, jealousy, vanity, competition, persist and drive complex behaviors. It adds such a rich, nuanced layer.
It really does. A dynamic, almost political social structure among birds, driven by emotions we recognize. And true to his word, Maza, now Aharazha, fulfills his promise. After a long while, maybe a year, he returns to his village with the other hornbills. A magnificent sight. And the scene of his return, it's tender, really poignant. That time the two girls were admiring the beauty of Asakha. These are his beloveds from his past life, still holding that place in his transformed heart. When Maza noticed his two beloveds, he happily fluttered his wings and let fall the most magnificent feathers of his as a gift, and they floated down and landed between his two lovers' breasts.
Such a beautiful, specific gesture, rich with symbolism. It's not just any feather. It's his most magnificent feather, placed with care, intention. It's a token of enduring affection, a tangible link between his new identity and the love he left behind. A physical manifestation of his loyalty, his prosperity, his transformation, shared directly with those who nurtured that change. It speaks volumes about love persisting across boundaries.
But that tender moment is immediately shattered, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It starkly contrasts with the harsh reality of the stepmother's enduring cruelty and, well, insatiable greed. The moment she witnesses this profound exchange, her true nature just bursts out. The stepmother then witnessed the scene and called out, "Maza, give me also." Her demand is so stark, utterly devoid of affection, remorse, understanding. It's pure, unadulterated covetousness, entitlement, lack of empathy.
And what does she get? Not feathers, I bet.
Not quite. All she got, the story tells us with this almost blunt comedic irony, was birds dropping, which landed right on her cheeks.
Oh, wow. Poetic justice, much?
You could say that. The symbolic nature is profound, utterly undignified. It's a direct, visceral, incredibly humiliating response to her greedy demand. A pointed rejection delivered with immediate, almost grotesque irony. Contrast that with the magnificent feathers for the lovers. The duality of reward and punishment is stark, unmistakable.
So that visceral punishment, what does that tell us about justice in this tale?
Well, this raises an important question, doesn't it? It's not divine intervention in the usual sense, not some abstract process. It's a direct, immediate, very physical consequence of her own actions, her inherent lack of empathy. But the punishment doesn't stop there. It reveals a deeper layer of sort of karmic consequence, driven by humiliation, this desperate, almost violent need to remove the indignity. She then took her sickle to flay the feces, but accidentally flayed her face skin, carrying the scars with her for life.
Oh my goodness, that's brutal, self-inflicted.
It's exactly brutal and self-inflicted. It amplifies the story's moral message. Her own violent reaction to the insult, her desperate attempt to remove the shame, results in permanent disfigurement. The permanence of the scar, carrying the scars with her for life, it serves as this powerful visual metaphor for the lasting consequences of cruelty, greed, lack of self-awareness. It's a physical manifestation of her inner depravity, etched onto her very being, a permanent mark of her actions. So what does this dramatic climax reveal about justice and karma here? It's a potent cautionary tale. Malicious intent, grasping behavior. They're met not only with immediate undignified retribution, but also result in self-inflicted lasting consequences. Justice here is swift, poetic, directly proportional. A mirror reflecting one's own deeds back onto them.
That's truly chilling, unforgettable, reinforces the moral backbone, and leaves a very stark impression. So what does this all mean when we look at the deeper layers beyond the plot? We can clearly see several potent universal themes woven into this specific cultural fabric. There's transformation, right? Not just escape, but rebirth into a new, powerful, admired identity. Reclaiming self, destiny. Then there's resilience, indomitable power in facing adversity, how one endures suffering but still finds an active path to freedom, even reverence, and justice and consequences, definitely. Especially that stark contrast between the lover's reward and the stepmother's grotesque permanent punishment. And finally, perhaps most profoundly, that deep, almost spiritual connection between humans and nature, particularly the revered status of the hornbill creature of beauty, power, transformation, a bridge between realms.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's clear the specific cultural details, like the Aharazha Shakang, the use of a Qingjui term Asakha, they don't just add local flavor. They profoundly enrich these universal themes, grounding them in a specific vibrant cultural reality. The hornbill, as this central motif, it's clearly chosen for a reason. Why this bird for such a powerful role? Its distinct appearance, magnificent feathers, the sheer power and sound of its flight, maybe its nesting habits, its prominence in the ecosystem, all contribute to its symbolic weight, majesty, freedom, even protection. It's a bird that commands attention, embodies strength and grace, an ideal vehicle for Maza's transformation into this revered figure.
Makes sense.
And the narrative draws that clear, unwavering line between love and loyalty embodied by the lovers, his promise to return, and the destructive forces of greed and cruelty, personified by the stepmother. That dichotomy reinforces the tale's moral compass, guides listeners on cherished values versus condemned behaviors within this cultural framework. The enduring power of folklore, like in Maza, the hornbill prince, lies precisely in its ability to transmit these fundamental cultural values, life lessons, historical echoes across generations. It's not just entertainment, it's a living form of moral education, cultural preservation, a guide for navigating life's complexities. When you consider the elements of this tale, what feels familiar? Resonates with universal experiences, love, loss, justice. And what feels uniquely tied to its origin, the Tangkhul Nagas, their dialect, that interplay between the universal and the particular. That's where folklore really shines, offering both reflection and discovery.
That's such a powerful way to frame it, folklore, as both universal language and unique cultural fingerprint. Constantly teaching, connecting us. We've truly covered a lot in this deep dive, from Maza's miserable start to his awe-inspiring transformation into a hornbill prince, exploring the unique cultural significance of the Aharazha Shakang, delving into that incredibly stark, unforgettable scene of poetic justice. It's a story that beautifully weaves together profound suffering, unwavering loyalty, soaring freedom, and the undeniable consequences of cruelty, all through the lens of a rich, specific cultural tradition. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Maza, the Hornbill Prince.
And this raises an important question perhaps for you to ponder as you go about your day. Consider how tales of profound transformation like Maza's reflect not just, a basic desire for escape from suffering, but also maybe a deep, abiding human yearning to understand our complex place within the natural world and to grasp the intricate, often beautiful, sometimes startling web of cause and effect, where both beauty and cruelty often find their own unique and truly unforgettable forms of justice.